Hello there. Now, before I carry on, let me just say that there will be some major spoilers in this review for Star Wars The Last Jedi. So if you haven't seen the film yet, stop watching this review, go watch The Last Jedi, and then come back to this review. Okay. This film was, quite frankly, weird. It was not at all what I was expecting. It does have more originality than The Force Awakens, that I will definitely say, but if it's better or not, I really couldn't tell you. Because I think this film perhaps suffered with regards to over-expectations. Because bearing in mind, people waited 2 years to see the continuation of Rey, Luke, the First Order, Finn, Poe. They waited 2 years to see their stories carry on. And I think, needless to say, it was not worth the 2-year wait. That's for sure. For me anyway, that's definitely for sure that it was not worth waiting 2 years to go and see what happens next. Because this is perhaps the problem with getting two different directors managing the same story. J.J. Abrams has said himself that he really wishes that he did Episode 8 himself, and I can definitely see why, because a lot of plot threads or like plot points that are set up in The Force Awakens, they're just dropped in The Last Jedi. Let's go to the big one. Spoilers, remember. Supreme Leader Snoke. Snoke dies halfway through the film, and he dies in such a, I don't know if it was supposed to be funny or not, I'm not sure, I laughed a little bit, but he dies in the most unexpected, just most undeserved way as well. He's basically trash-talking Kylo and Rey. He's just trash-talking him, saying like, oh, I am all-powerful, like, Kylo can never betray me because I am so powerful. I am this all-seeing, all-powerful being. Now, what happened was that, well, Snoke has Rey's lightsaber on his armrest, and Kylo's sort of secretly using the Force. He's like twiddling his fingers. He's using the Force to slowly rotate the lightsaber around, and then with like a flick of his hand, activates the activation switch, and then cuts Snoke in half. It was so shocking. It was. I think the theatre screen I saw it in, everyone went quiet because they were like, It was. I think no one could believe that they just killed off Supreme Leader Snoke like that. I mean, this guy was supposed to be this mysterious being. Like, who is Snoke? I mean, if you look online, you'll see countless videos, all these Snoke theory videos about, oh, is Snoke Emperor Palpatine reborn, or perhaps is he Darth Plagueis? Or maybe he's this person, maybe he's that person. Well, you might as well just forget about all that, because Snoke dies halfway through. And it's almost like the director did not like the character of Snoke whatsoever. And so, yeah, Kylo Ren is now the Supreme Leader. Now, I think if you like the First Order, you're going to be slightly worried for them, because now their most stable position, most stable person in any kind of position of power is General Hux. That's saying something. Whilst I did like Hux and Kylo a little bit more in this film compared to The Force Awakens, I don't know. I'm still not really getting them. Hux is basically a cartoon character, and Kylo, whilst I do believe him as a villain, he's just a psychopath. You know, like I don't buy him as a great Star Wars villain. I think part of the problem is that you no longer have an Emperor character because Snoke is gone. You never really had a Darth Vader character, which I understand with Kylo, he was trying to be Darth Vader, but not really Darth Vader. He was trying to, you know, so they are trying to make Kylo his own character, I get that. But I think what I'm trying to say is that you don't have a Thrawn character. Now, I'm not saying every villain has to be Thrawn, but you don't have this calm, cool, collected villain. Essentially, the character of Hux should be someone else. They should have like, in the beginning of the film, the First Order have this big massive dreadnought, and the captain of that dreadnought, he would have made a more believable General Hux than General Hux would have been, if that makes sense. See the film, you know what I'm talking about. But I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with Episode 9, because J.J. Abrams has taken over Episode 9, he's going to be carrying on the story. How he's going to carry on the story from here, I have no idea. But let's talk about Poe. Poe is made to be way too rebellious in this film. In the beginning of the film, he wants to destroy this First Order dreadnought, which is basically a fleet killer. And Leia says, no, no, get out there, get everyone out. And Poe says, no, no. And Poe gets a lot of people killed. He does take out the dreadnought, or at least his bombers take out the dreadnought, but everyone under his command gets killed. And it's kind of treated as no biggie. And bear in mind, he has disobeyed a direct order from his superior officer and got everyone under his command killed. But no, no biggie. Leia kind of gives him a little bit of a slap, demotes him, and then it's kind of forgotten about. It's so weirdly done, to say the least. But let's talk about Leia. Now, we all know that sadly Carrie Fisher has died, and inevitably the character of Leia will not be in Episode 9. And there's a part pretty early on in this film where I thought, oh my goodness, they've actually killed her off. She gets blown out into space. I was really shocked. I thought, wow, I wasn't expecting them to do it this way. It's a bit quite surprising, to say the least. And I thought, okay, maybe this could work. But then something really just silly happens. Leia does this Superman impression where, bear in mind, she's exposed to the vacuum of space, and she sort of twiddles her fingers, and then she's able to fly through space back onto a ship. Now, hardcore Star Wars fans will say, "Oh, well, she created a force bubble. You know, she's got a degree of some degree of oxygen within this force bubble." But no, come on, no. This is just silly. It's ridiculous. It looked ridiculous. But speaking of that same scene, Admiral Akbar, one of the greatest, most iconic characters in all of Star Wars, dies, and they barely address it. As soon as he dies, they sort of say, "Oh, yeah, and Akbar's dead." Moving on. Like, no, you cannot do that. You cannot kill off one of the greatest Star Wars characters of all time and barely address it. That was just so poorly handled. But anyway, in The Force Awakens, they set up a premise that Kylo is going to be trained by Snoke, which doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in this film. And Rey is going to be trained by Luke, which doesn't really happen. Luke doesn't really show Rey anything. He doesn't really train her at all. And it seems like Rey doesn't even need training, because she's able to use the Force exceptionally well, and she's excellent with a lightsaber, so she doesn't really need training at all. So it was just a wasted opportunity. I mean, the chemistry between Rey and Luke was great. I enjoyed that. That was good. But the whole purpose of her being there is kind of wasted, to say the least. And a lot of people don't like how Luke Skywalker was handled on the island. He was this crotchety old man, you know, it's not Luke's personality at all. Yeah, I disagree, because you have to remember, this is like 30 odd years after the events of Return of the Jedi. Excuse me. And by that point, he's lost everything. The Jedi Order he set up is gone. His nephew has turned to the dark side. He's lost everything. I can believe that he would be this crotchety old guy. And there was a great segment where, which surprised me definitely, where Yoda pops up, and it was a nice throwback to The Empire Strikes Back. It was a nice little conversation that Luke and Yoda had. That was good. That was a pleasant surprise, I must say. But with regards to Phasma, Phasma is just so... once again, Phasma is wasted. I mean, she does have more to do in this film than she did in The Force Awakens, but she's got about 10 minutes of screen time, and they kill her off, I think. She falls in this big fiery pit. But with regards to if she's dead or not, I don't know. I mean, I hope she's not dead. I mean, I hope that maybe in episode 9 we'll finally have Phasma do something. But once again, one of the biggest complaints about this character is that she was hyped up to be so cool. Like, she looks cool. You know, she's got this nice silver armor, fantastic cape, and they just don't use her at all in The Force Awakens, and they just squander her in The Last Jedi. It's such a shame. It really is such a shame. And with regards to the Hoth Point 2 battle, some people have said, I didn't mind it, to be honest. I mean, it didn't really bother me at all. I mean, I did like that little segment though when, just before the battle starts, a resistant soldier licks a piece of salt off the ground and just goes, salt. It was almost like a little wink to the to the camera, you know, to the audience. Like, hey, don't worry guys, we're not copying Hoth. It isn't snow, it's salt. Don't worry, we're definitely not copying Hoth. Wink wink. You know, it's, I don't know. I didn't think that little moment was really necessary. I didn't mind it, but it wasn't needed. And the whole battle sequence was fine. It was alright. But I do think that it could have been longer, because there's a lot of stuff that happened in this film that didn't need to happen. And moving on to that final point, the whole casino segment with Finn and Rose. Finn and Rose, when they're trying to find this hacker on this weird casino planet, it did not need to happen. A lot of people really hate that segment. I don't really hate it. I mean, it doesn't belong in the film, but I don't hate it. The entire segment reminds me of some kids novel. It's like, you know those Star Wars kids novels? You got a lot of them from the early 90s and early 2000s. It reminded me of one of those stories, you know, like, it's not supposed to be great, it was like, it's just average. I don't know, it just reminded me of one of those things, one of those, like, early novels. And it just didn't need to happen at all. But final thoughts on this film, on this whole film overall. Oh, actually, before I give my final thoughts, Luke Skywalker. Yeah, Luke Skywalker dies at the end of this film. And it's like, at least I think he dies. I don't know, he sort of dies of exhaustion. He just sits on a rock and disappears. And so, people waiting 2 years for the return of Luke Skywalker, he doesn't really do it. He has this interesting astral projection fight with Kylo on the planet Crate. I thought that was a nice little plot twist, because there's a point where Kylo orders all of his AT-ATs to just blow Luke Skywalker up, and then he just walks out completely unscathed. So that was a nice little plot twist, because he's not really there. It's like a hologram, essentially. But then he just disappears by the end of the film. Now, I am sure Mark Hamill will be in Episode 9. He'll probably be as a Force Ghost. I am certain of that. But I think that you've just killed off Luke Skywalker, and it was so anticlimactic. It was just so weirdly done. So, would I recommend, well, final thoughts. Would I recommend seeing this film? That's a tough one. I think, quite honestly, if you're a hardcore Star Wars fan, you will love this. No, actually, no, let me rephrase that. If you're a hardcore Star Wars fan, you will hate this film. let me correct that. But if you're a casual fan, you'll probably like it, if that makes any sense at all. Hardcore Star Wars fans will despise this film. Casual fans will have a good time. That's about the best I can say, I think. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.